I'm Paul Malchow, one of the creators and designers of Union City Alliance Heroes Unite, a new deck and board building game. Today, I'm going to show you how a couple turns of Union City Alliance are played, to show you what heroes do, how turns work, and overall what the game's all about. We're going to pick up in the middle of an ongoing game. The two heroes are Green Death and Lady Sunbeam. We're already in issue 2, which is how we track the escalation of things in Union City Alliance, which means that because we're going up against the Pterano-Don of the Dino Mafia, our heroes have already begun to work on their ultimate goal, which is taking down his ferocious dino mobsters. Lady Sunbeam is already engaged in combat with one of those. We're going to pick up at the start of the Green Death's turn. So, because the draw phase happens late in the turn, the Green Death starts his turn with all 5 cards already in his hand. He's here on the Colosseum, and there's one Union card there with him. I smell your fear. In his hands, we have 2 Hit the Streets, a Rapid Processing, a Digital Native, and a Custom Steric. The first thing we're going to do is play Rapid Processing, and because it has 2 Printed Valor, we gain that right away. We're also going to play Digital Native. This is a legacy card with an activate. It is a Valor card, but because it has no printed Valor, we don't gain anything from playing it. However, we can activate this card. Its activation gives us 1 Valor, because we're going to use the first option. So, we now have 3 Valor, which means we can undertake the action of achieving, or exerting Valor to put a Union card from our panel into our discard pile. We'll take I Smell Your Fear from the Colosseum, and it goes into our discard pile, exerting 3 Valor. Next, let's use some of our speed. We've got 4 of it, thanks to our 2 Hit the Streets, and we will explore here to the east. When you explore a space, you count its range from the starting panel, or Hero HQ in this case. That is 2, so it costs us 2 speed to explore this panel. We get the hospital, and the standard setup for a 2-player game is 1 city card and 2 Union cards on each new panel. We'll set those up here. We get an Old Lady Up a Tree, Alpha Predator, and Leaping Lizard. Because this Old Lady Up a Tree is a challenge, and it is a speed challenge, we can use the 2 speed we have from the second Hit the Streets to confront it and overcome it. We'll exert that 2 speed to put a progress token on it, and because it only has 1 difficulty, we can now move that challenge to its associated trash, in this case, the city trash. When we overcome it, we activate the overcome mechanic, and in this case, we gain 4 heroism. So, that 4 heroism goes to the Green Death. There is nothing for him to attack, but he will still play his custom Steric. He'll gain the 2 might, but he doesn't exert it. That is all the actions he's going to take this turn, which means we're at the end of the action phase. We can now move on to the cleanup phase, moving all the cards we played this turn, except any legacies, into our discard pile. The legacy card we did play can now be turned right way up again, so it can be used next turn. Now we can move on to our draw phase, which means we draw cards until we have 5 in our hand. So we draw Into the Night, Pass the Mantle, Bred for Battle, Green Skull Herb, and Chain Summoning. That's the end of our draw phase, and the threat phase, nothing happens because there are no enemies around to threaten us. We can move on to the Peril phase. This happens at the end of every player's turn, and means we play a Peril card and fully carry it out. In this case, we get Wrath of the Underworld, which plays a plot card. The second part of the effect isn't relevant because it is not issue 3 yet. So, we play a plot card, which gets us Feed him to the Ichthyosaur, which means we need to dismiss our legacy card. Dismiss puts a card from in play into your discard pile, and we're also dealt 4 damage. In this case, I'm going to use Into the Night for 1 defense, and that will trigger the Green Death's hero card ability, which increases that defense by 2 once per turn, giving him 3 total defense, so he takes 1 damage. Now that we've fully carried out the plot card and fully carried out the peril card, the peril phase is over and we can move on to the next player's turn. That, of course, is Lady Sunbeam, and she's over here on the Super Mall with Big Paulie T-Rex, who is one of our primary adversaries for this game. In her hand, she has Rapid Processing, a Blinding Flash, 2 Save the Days, and Speed of Light. As you can see, Lady Sunbeam already has a legacy out that she played on a previous turn. Lady Sunbeam is going to play all of these cards. When she plays Speed of Light, because it has an ore, as soon as she plays it, she needs to choose which resource she's going to gain from it. In this case, she'll take Might, which brings her to 8 total damage because of the +1 bonus from Aurora. She'll deal all that damage to Big Paulie T-Rex, and unfortunately, there is nothing for her to achieve, so she will use Bravery to exert 2 Valor for 1 Heroism. She's also going to use her Speed, because she has 2, to move away from Big Paulie T-Rex and try to get back towards the Green Death. Because it's issue 2 and the breakaway cost is 1, it requires 2 speed to move off of this panel total. So she's only going to be able to move here. And that brings us to the end of her action phase. So we can clean up all these cards except for the legacy. We'll go into her discard pile. She'll draw 5 cards. I Smell Your Fear, 2 Beacons of Hope, Just a Blur, and Flurry of Fists. As you can see, Flurry of Fists is an alert. Alerts are triggered as soon as they go into your hand. So once she draws this, she can trigger the alert, which says draw a card. So she'll draw 1 more card and get Heroic Hellion. Very good. We now move on to the threat phase. The threat phase, Big Paulie T-Rex is in threat range because he has a threat of 1. So he's going to move 1 over to her and then assault. His fight is 7, but we double defense against him. She's going to use Just a Blur, which means she gets 4 defense since it's doubled. She still takes 3 damage, but she gets to draw a card, then discard a card. So she draws and gets Devil's Advocate, good. And she will discard one of these icons, good. That brings us to the Peril phase, which is a crime wave. That says we take a Raptor Gangster, put it on the panel, and it immediately assaults. So that deals her 3 damage because it's issue 2 plus 1. And she takes 3 damage since she has no more Gambits to use. At this point, we can see that Lady Sunbeam is in a bit of trouble. And as we go to the Green Death, we'll see if there's anything he can do to help her. So the first thing we'll do is use 1 of our speed to move up to the high school, and we will use the map panel action here. So that says gain issue heroism, stay in school kids. So we will gain 2 heroism, and we still need a little more in order to get This Is My City. So we are going to use the Empower on Pass the Mantle. It is issue 2. The way Empower works is it can only be triggered when it's in your hand. So this says discard this card to gain 4 heroism, and that heroism has to be exerted this turn. But that's fine because we're going to do a training action. When we train, we can exert heroism equal to our training tokens plus the cost of the card we want. It has 2 training tokens, so that increases the cost of This Is My City by 4, bringing the total to 8. So I exert 8 heroism. Now when I train, I can choose to put that card either on top of my deck or into my hand. In this case, I'm going to put it right into my hand. Now I get a training token. I can choose whether to leave this other available solo card out or put it on the bottom of my solo deck and replace both of these. Otherwise, I'll just replace the one. In this case, I will choose to put this card on the bottom of the deck and get 2 new cards. There we go. That completes my training action. Now I have This Is My City in my hand. So I will play that and use its activate. I will discard this green skull herb and move to this panel, which has at least 1 enemy on it. And now I will use all this might, first to take down the raptor, then to do additional damage to Big Paulie T-Rex. Not quite enough to defeat him as well, but we're well on our way. While Bred for Battle has an activate, unfortunately it does me no good because I didn't play any other cards with the power quality. I go to my cleanup phase and I put everything into my discard pile because none of these are legacies. I will draw. So I'll draw this first one into the night, and now my deck is empty. So I simply take my discard pile, flip it over, shuffle it. That goes face down next to my character card and is my new deck. I continue to draw a Guns Blazing, 2 Custom Sterix, and a Chain Summoning. Not going to be a good turn for Big Paulie T-Rex next turn. We move on to the threat phase, which is Paulie. He is going to assault me, and I will use Chain Summoning, because that has an in-hand Gambit. As you can see, I do have another card with a quality of Mystic in my hand. The qualities are all located here at the bottom of the printed resources column. So I will choose to use this instead of Into the Night, so I don't take any damage from Big Paulie T-Rex. Now we move on to the Peril phase, which is a family business, so we escalate. Escalate means we take the bottom card of the plot deck, we put it onto the bottom of the next issue stack. Also, because we do have a mobster on our panel, we'll activate their Dino Mafia ability, which means we each take 1 unavoidable damage from that roar. I'll take the damage, she'll take the damage. I do have another Gambit in my hand, which I could use as the Green Death. However, because the damage is unavoidable, any defense I generate is useless. Other Gambit effects, like drawing cards or anything else, would come into effect, but because Into the Night only gives me defense, it's pointless to use right now. So I'll keep it in my hand so I have the resources for next turn. And now that's the Peril card all played out. Which brings us to the end of the Green Death's turn, and we can move on to Lady Sunbeams. With that, you've got a pretty good idea of how to play Union City Alliance. We've shown you a lot of the mechanics that come into play, what a basic turn looks like, how to handle threat and peril, and now it's up to you to save the city. Download our Tabletop Simulator mod, which is absolutely free. Play a game for yourself. Be sure to check out our other tutorial videos, as well as playthroughs and reviews on our YouTube channel or at our website. And please support our Kickstarter. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in Union City, heroes.